All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Jackie Williams, in case you're not familiar. And today I'm going to be talking mostly about motivation. But I want to preface everything I say with this, that I did a call last night talking specifically to goal setting. So I'm going to be talking about motivation and how it relates to goal setting. But if you want a more detailed coaching or training around goal setting in and of itself, I will share the YouTube link to that training in the comments section of this video once this call is done. Combined with that, I created like a couple worksheets that you can work through during the call, and I explain how to do all of that. So if you're interested in that, just know that will be in the comments of this. Okay, so I was thinking about motivation and goal setting and how there's a multitude of things that we can do or follow or think about. And there's really not a whole lot of right or wrong. Really the intention behind goal setting is turning on systems in your brain and actually in your body. Like, it changes our blood pressure, and there is a physiological response to simply goal setting that puts us into action through motivation. And I wanted to keep it as straightforward as possible. And I got to thinking, I'm not a math person, and physics isn't really my thing, but I do believe there is a law of motion, maybe. And it says that an object that's set in motion will stay in motion. Is that right? Does that sound familiar? Okay? An object that is set in motion will stay in motion. And then it got me thinking, we're either moving forwards towards our goals or we're moving away from them. There's no real stuck. We're not ever really just stuck in one place, even though in our minds we think, I'm not moving anywhere. You are. You're either moving slowly, it could be little inches forward towards your goal, or maybe big steps, or same backwards. You're moving closer and closer towards your goal, or closer and closer away from it by not doing anything. So even if you're sitting there and you're not doing anything, let's just say in your business or in any other avenue, your health, your workouts, whatever, your spiritual practice, you're moving backwards, you're going away, because an object is in motion, right? And so I think that that's really important to think about, especially in those times where we are maybe discouraged because we're not reaching our goals quite as quickly as we had expected. Every little incremental movement is pushing you in that direction, and that matters. Okay, so when we're thinking about progress, even small progress is important. Even small progress is moving you forward, as long as you're not sliding backwards. And even if you are sliding backwards, it's fine. Okay, it's not a big deal. You can get back up. You can move yourself in the direction you want to go. You have control of that. And I want my take-home message for you guys today to be that above all else, you're in control. Okay, so sometimes we like to hand over our motivation and put it on other people, put it on our team, on our leaders, on our company, on our family. And we're looking for these outside either sources of motivation or excuses why we don't have motivation. And at the end of the day, really, it's just a choice that you're making. Motivation really literally is just a choice, which when I was, delving into some books to kind of sharpen my own knowledge around motivation, I found it that the most empowering, but also disempowering, right? Because we want there to be some magical answer or strategy or mantra or affirmation that's gonna motivate us, when in reality it's in us. That could also be empowering. We can take the power back from these outside sources that we're looking to, that we don't feel like we're being motivated enough from, and take control of it. If we want more motivation, that is in our control, which is cool. So however you choose to look at it can either be empowering or disempowering, which is kind of the name of the game for all things, right? So when you're thinking about what motivation is, I'm going to write this on the board. I have a couple things I want to share with you guys, just because I'm a visual person, it helps me. I want you to think of motivation as a purpose or a reason to move or do something, to work towards something or away from something, okay? So it's either towards freedom, and I didn't make this up. So this is in the Motivation Manifesto by Brendon Burchard. There's a whole chapter in there. And humans are moving either towards freedom, I wanted to do this in a different color, or fear. So if you're taking notes, there's going to be a couple things that I'll be jotting down that you can copy. It'll help you. You're moving towards freedom or fear. I like to think of it as a tug of war. So we're always in tug of war in these two things. And we are either moving towards freedom or towards fear. Which one wins depends on which one we pull harder towards. And we have control of that. Now, that's not to say there is something to be said for the fact that we have natural inclinations or impulses that naturally we lean more one way than the other. So do keep that in mind, that might be something that you maybe have to pull a little bit harder towards freedom, because you naturally lean more towards the motive of fear. Okay, so we're going to either move towards freedom or towards or away from fear. Okay, that's our dominant motive. When we're motivated by freedom, that is going to call on our higher self, our best self, our true self, and lead us towards our ambitions, independence, growth, the things that we value, happiness, success, anything that is a core value to you, that is you stepping into your true self. That is freedom. So if you want to think of like, well, what is freedom? What does that mean exactly? It just means you're free to be and live as you in your core values. Your core values are different than my core values. Okay, so one of my core values is learning and growth. I spent, several days thinking about this call and reading the books, and I didn't have to do that, but that's something I enjoy doing. That's a value of mine. This was a goal of mine, okay? And I was motivated to do that. It might be different for you. Fear, on the other hand, is going to be things like avoidance. So fear is you're going to be motivated by fear, and that's going to cause you to avoid challenges, avoid trying new things, avoiding struggle, avoiding uncertainty. Fear is going to cause you to move away from things in avoidance. The path of fear, it feels safer. We think we're safer, and then therefore we think sometimes that means we're happier because we're not uncomfortable. We're not challenged, we're not growing. That means we're happier. But ultimately, what researchers have found, and I think we could probably say the same of our own experiences, is ultimately it really just leads to a disappointment, dissatisfaction, even regret sometimes. So, two motives. We can feel motivated to move towards freedom, chase greatness, grow, evolve, step into the person we're meant to be, or we can kind of settle, if you will, out of fear. The actions that we take really are based on our natural impulses, our natural inclination, how we tend to lean, or if we have a compelling reason to take action in one way or the other. Okay, so there might be outside circumstances, desires or dreams that are going to lead us towards freedom. Same goes for fear. So there's going to be a reason or a motive that we're going to move in either direction. But both are challenging us pretty much all the time at any moment of the day. We just get to decide which one are we going to choose to move towards or away from. Okay, so the choice is actually the mother of motivation, is how Brendon Burchard, again in this book, describes it. The mother of motivation is choice. So if we understand motive as the reason for what we choose or do something, or the why we do something, we get to choose that decision. We get to make that decision. Now, the important thing to remind yourself of here is that sometimes that motive or that choice is unconscious. So sometimes we unconsciously are making choices based on unconscious reasons. So not everything we do is a conscious decision that we're making. Now, we can call it to consciousness if we create some awareness around it, but it's really important to know that sometimes there are underlying unconscious things that are the reasons why we do things or don't do things even, right? So getting clear around what it is that you want to do, that's what goal setting is for. Calling those things from your unconscious to conscious, and then committing to them. So motivation, you can have high levels of motivation. That's going to be highest when it's clear what you want and you're committed to that. You've decided you're committed, you're going to get it. You're very motivated in those instances. When you're unclear, not really sure what you want, and you're not committed, your motivation is going to be low. So where is your decision making here? You can ask yourself the questions, get clear on what it is you want, why you want it, how you're going to get there. Commit to doing it, moving through that process, or you're going to stay here and feel unmotivated. So if you are feeling unmotivated, either in your business or in your life, sometimes it's just a matter of reassessing where you are and where you want to go. Okay, so that's why getting clear on your goals and then committing to them, it really trumps everything. So, a lot of times we're always kind of like looking for different strategies or what have you. And that's fine. I mean, strategies are important. They're definitely, tactics and success. But if your commitment isn't there and your clarity isn't there, then none of that really matters, right? It's in and out, on to the next thing. If you're committed to a goal or something that you want in your life, you're always going to figure out how to get there. You're going to figure it out. The how will come. It's the want that is the most important, the desire, the goal, the vision. So we're going to talk more about goal setting, but as far as motivation goes, I like to use this example when we're talking about sparking motivation. So let's say you have two people, okay? And both people are trying to reach a specific point. Now, I'm going to say, because I was freezing today and like my toes were so cold, I had to go find my heating pad and put them on my toes. It's not even that cold here, y'all. I'm actually kind of embarrassed to tell you what it is. So let's just say we want to go from the cold mountains to a nice warm beach. We're sick of the cold, gloomy days. We just want something brighter and pleasant. One of us is just going to kind of wander aimlessly. We really want to get there. We really do. Like, we want to get there. We have the desire, but we don't have a plan. We'll get there. We'll get there when we get there. The other of us knows exactly where we want to go. We've picked a point on the map. I'm going to choose Florida, somewhere along 30A. I've tracked how long it's going to take me to get there. I know the amount of hours. I've filled up my car with gas. I've packed some snacks, and I'm even going to bring some friends along for the ride. Who's going to get there? Who's going to reach that destination? I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? But when we think about our goals, sometimes we set these like aimless goals of, yeah, I'd like that. It'd be nice. Sure, I'll try that. And then we wander around aimlessly, and then we wonder why we're never actually moving forward in the direction we want to get or hitting any destination. And hear me out. It is not about the destination. In fact, if you go back and listen to the last call, you'll hear me very clearly state that it is not about the outcome as much as it is about the journey. So I want you to do this reframe on goals and goal setting. Some of us get so caught up in like achieving the goal that we miss out on the journey. So I want you to stay on this road trip with me, and I want you to consider your goal getting as a road trip where it's really not about the destination anymore. I know where I want to be, and that has put me on a path, But when you're on a road trip, you have friends coming with you, it's not about the destination as much as it is about the journey, because it's fun on the journey. I mean, if you do a road trip, right? If you're not in a hurry to get there. The problem is, like life, the minute you get off track, what happens? You have this destination in mind, you have it all mapped out, you know exactly where you're going, how to get there, and then you get off track. You get frustrated. You lose hope. You even want to quit. I mean, depends how far you are, if you're going to turn around or not and go back. So I want you to reframe your goal getting, okay, so not the goal setting, but the goal getting as a road trip where the journey is just as important as the destination, if not more so. Look at the detours, the times you get off track, as the scenic route, the uncharted but beautiful territories that you get to see your life and your pursuits from a different point of view. You gain a wider perspective. You have a deeper understanding of the world and what's going on around you. So we're all not we're all, but sometimes we get really impatient to like get to the good part, to hit the goal and realize the outcome, and we're missing the point of it all in the process. You guys, life, I mean, it's not meant to be fast. It's meant to be full. We're meant to learn and to grow and evolve. And here we are like trying to rush everything. And the reality is, if we just slow down and like enjoy the ride and take time to find joy in the journey, it's so much more enjoyable. And truly, like, that's our destiny. Our destiny is not the destination. Our destiny is overcoming the roadblocks, taking time to analyze what they're teaching you, and then viewing it as the scenic route on your journey that's going to give you a much fuller, richer experience, and so much more valuable. Okay, so if you imagine setting goals is, well, it is your imagination, right? Like, setting goals, it really just gives us the power to imagine what our ideal future is and like more clearly envision where we want to go. Okay, so maybe it's not the beach, I don't know. You know, maybe it's to the top of the company, or maybe you have other ideas for what this business or any other really pursuit in your life is going to get you. But it starts with clearly reflecting where you are like right now, and from there imagining where it is you want to be in the future. But in that process, I think the most important piece is who you want to become. So I'm not going to go into that right now, but I encourage you, if that's something that resonates with you, to go back and listen to this, the last training that I'll post in the comments, just to have a deeper understanding or conversation around that. So setting goals helps us bring our vision, our imagination into reality, right? And research shows that when we train our mind to think about what it is we want in life and work, our brain actually rewires itself to get us there, to acquire that ideal self-image. So it all comes back to our identity and our beliefs. So you have to make sure that it matches who you want to become in that process. So it's not something to skip over or gloss over. And it's not just do, and I'm going to get there. You're not going to like the person you are when you get there if you're not doing it right and you're not paying attention to that part of the process of who I'm becoming and why am I intrinsically motivated to do this. So we have intrinsic or internal motivators. So these are going to be things like pride, growth, curiosity, learning new skills. Like impact is a big one for me, and like ripple effect. Those are our internal motivators. Like, we want to really truly help people, and we're motivated by things on an internal level. There's no external real relation to that. And then there's extrinsic motivation or outside motivation, things like title, rewards, bonus money, prizes, recognition. Both are valuable. So it's not good or bad. Both are valuable. Both are motivators and help us feel rewarded in our efforts, which is a very important piece of motivation. So it's not something to be looked over. But if we're not clear on why we're doing the things to get to that, and if it's just purely extrinsic, like those external motivators, they're going to be gone. You're going to get them and then they're gone. So you have to make sure you're right in here about like, why do I want to get there? What is it that's going to be rewarding to me on an internal, deep heart, mind level? Okay. So extrinsic and intrinsic motivators, two different types of motivators, along with, you know, that tug of war of freedom and fear. So you can kind of interplay and figure out like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why is it important to me to have these things or to not have these things, not have this, right? So that's how we can continue to get clear on our goals. And clarity really is an important piece of goal setting. So I want to talk about goal setting in particular really briefly, although I have a feeling it's going to not be as brief as I want it to be, but there's three main essential pieces of goal setting, and you can write this down. It's A, B, C. The first one is achievable. Your goal needs to be achievable. This is all based on psychological research. I'm going to add, it also needs to be ambitious. So A is ambitious, but achievable. And I'll go into that a little bit more. I'm going to expand on all of these. Okay, so B is believable. You need to believe you can do it. You need to believe that you can do it. And then C is committed. So motivating goals are achievable, but ambitious, believable, and committed. Okay. So there's something that's called the Goldilocks zone of motivation from Atomic Habits. How many of you guys have this one? It's great. This is also something that's in like education. It's so funny. I was, you know, thinking about this call and I had a meeting with the director of our school, and she was talking about like the proximal zone of learning is the same thing. So if you're a teacher, it's very similar. Our goals need to be in the proximal zone of learning or the Goldilocks zone of motivation. So going back to my handy dandy chart here, if this is difficulty going that way, you're going to have easy goals here, hard goals here. The zone of motivation is going to be on your bell curve here. And I didn't make this up. This is, I'm pretty sure it's in his book. I could be wrong. Right here, zone of motivation is your bell curve. It's not too easy, because if it's easy, we are bored. We are not challenged. This does not keep our attention. Okay. If it's, we probably noticed this with your kids, right? I sure have. If it's too hard, we fail. That's not going to keep our motivation either. So our goals need to be right here in this zone of motivation where they're not too easy, they're not too hard. They're achievable, but they are ambitious. They're right there on the cusp of what you know and what you're capable of, but you still need to challenge yourself a little bit more to achieve it. Okay, so that's that sweet spot of goal setting that's going to keep us motivated. So if you're kind of feeling unmotivated, maybe ask yourself, are my goals are they too difficult, or are they too easy? Or sometimes I think of not only easy, but like I think of truly boring, like been there, done that. I need something new and novel. That's a very real thing. Psychologically, it's not just you giving up. It's you need to find something that's going to bring you back in that zone of motivation. So if you view, you know, the spectrum, you just need to make sure that you're staying challenged, but in a way that you can still succeed, right? Because you fail too many times, you start to lose motivation. So make sure you're getting back into that zone of motivation. And so that's ambitious, but achievable. And one of the things that is important when it comes to maintaining motivation is making sure you're staying in that zone. So sometimes, for example, you've hit your goals and now everything is in this bored zone, right? Like you got really nowhere up to go. So you need to find something that's going to bring you back into motivation, being challenged, where you feel challenged but capable. Okay, so setting ambitious but achievable goals is A. B, believable. So I'm not going to really expound too much on belief because that's something we talk about all the time. It's very relevant to motivation. If you don't believe it's possible, you're not going to be motivated to go and figure it out, right? You have to believe it's possible, and you have to believe it's possible for you. There's several levels of or facets of belief, I should say. I'm just going to quickly name a few of them. I'm sure there's more that I haven't thought of. But the first one is your system of processes. You have to believe in your system of your process, whatever that is to you. The beauty of a business like this, for example, is there's a multitude of systems and ways that you can be doing this business. You have to be doing it in a way that works for you, that you believe in. Okay. And then you have to believe in your support circle, to believe in the people around you. And the fact that they have succeeded is social proof, right? Is proof that success leaves clues. You can succeed in this business, for example. That triggers your belief. So thinking about like a new partner, you want to bring them in to our circle, not only for the support, but for that belief building, like, oh yeah, other people are succeeding. That was huge for me to see Danette go to NMD, to know other NMDs. I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is a real thing. People do really actually succeed inside this business. And then belief in yourself. So that can be your efforts. You know, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to make the time? Do you believe that you are going to put forth effort? Do you believe in your ability to learn, to grow, to adapt, to learn new skills, to sharpen your skills? Do you believe in your worthiness? That's a big one. Do you believe that you're worthy of your dreams? Is that a part of your identity? And do you believe that if you don't know the answers, you can figure it out? So in other words, in your resourcefulness. Because, you know, part of being motivated is that we know that there's answers out there, that we can go find them. And if I don't know them right now, I don't believe I can do it right now, I believe I can go figure it out. So it might not all be, you know, 100% belief right now, but I know that there's potential that I can do it. Okay, so then moving on to C, and I know we're going to go over time, you guys. I apologize about that. I want to get through a little bit more. So C is commitment. I'm going to add clarity, because I believe clarity leads to commitment. Commitment, really, to know what you're committed to, you need to be very clear about what you want, what you don't want, where you are, so point A, to where you want to go, point B. These need to be clear to you. And then what is that gap between point A and point B that is keeping you from B? You're at A, you need to go to B. What do you need here to get you there? We need clarity around that. So you need to know, what skills do you need to learn? What people do you need to talk to or learn from? What time do you want to invest? You know, you need a map for that process. Now, you're not going to know every single step, but you need to know how I'm going to take the next step, and know that there's a point A and there's a point B, and be clear about where you want to go. And finally, why you want to go there. Okay, so it always comes back to your why. Why do you want to go there? Why do you want to reach those goals? Why are they important to you? And who do you want to be in that process? Again, go back to the other call if that's something that resonates with you. So commitment comes from the clarity. But then we decide on our goals. We have to make a decision. We have to decide, this is something I'm going to do. And that decision breeds the commitment. So I'm going to decide, this is something I want to do. This is my goal. I'm going to commit to it. And then I'm going to, first of all, set accountability measures if possible. So whether that's with your sponsor or a mentor or a coach, or your spouse. I waver on that one because, you know, that's iffy. But set an accountability measure. It could be a tracker system that you follow. It doesn't have to be a person. but that helps you stay committed. And then always write it down. If you want to be serious about your goal setting, I know you guys have heard this before, write your goals down, put them in real life, make them real. Not only does it, it just turns on your brain. And I did talk about the reticular activating system on the last call, really briefly. It's just a part of our brain that turns on, that tells us what to pay attention to and what not to pay attention to. It is constantly working and filtering information for us all day long based on what's important to us. When we write it down, we are literally telling our brain, this is important to Jackie. You need to pay attention to the things that are going to help her get this. So I'm going to start to notice the people, the conversations, the social media posts, the podcasts, the books, the things that are going to help me get to what I want, because now my brain is paying attention to them. It's just like, I really need a new car, you guys. I know this is always the example that we give when we talk about the reticular activating system, but like, I for real need a new car. All I see are new cars. It's all I see. Okay, I need an SUV, preferably, probably white, and I see them all, right? Because I'm shopping for an SUV in my mind. Now, last year, I didn't really care about any cars, so I didn't pay attention to them. You've done the same thing when you've bought a new car, right? Your brain starts to notice the same thing on the road. It was always there. You just never noticed it because it wasn't important to you. Your brain does the same thing for your goals. So we need to turn on the reticular activating system by getting clear and committed to our goals. So to take it a step further, if you really want to turn on your reticular activating system, there is studies to show that if you practice visualization, you practice seeing yourself achieving your goals, that your brain doesn't really know the difference between reality and imagined reality. So when we give ourselves a picture of the goal we want to achieve, your mind actually starts to believe it's real. And then your brain will drive you to take actions that match it, which is kind of cool. The studies are fascinating. Truly, they had basketball teams that imagined, you guys, they imagined themselves practicing, like, I don't know, it was nightly for 30 minutes or something like that. They just imagined themselves practicing, and they outperformed the teams that actually practiced because they imagined it more. It was crazy. So stuff like that. So if you do want to take it a step further, like, get into the habit of, and I did this, you guys, I did this on my road to NMD. I legit visualized. And so I teach my kids to visualize their baseball players. So they visualize standing in at the plate. I'm sure there's a word for it. Standing at the plate and like visualize themselves hitting those balls. And I don't know if it works or doesn't work, but it's cool. So turn on your reticular activating system by staying committed to your goals. That's the C. So it's achievable but ambitious, plus belief, plus commitment equals motivation. Sounds simple. So the thing is, like, it is, we, again, are always kind of looking for these outside sparks of motivation, when really all we have to do is get really clear and honest about what we want, whether it's a different job or a new rank or a new home or a happier marriage or a healthier body. Those desires, with them we set our goals, and then we act on the decision and we start the journey. So the goal setting part of that is starting the car. Once you start the car, what are you going to do next? You're going to drive, you're going to go, you're going to push out a park, and the journey begins. But if you never start the car, you're not going to get far. So start the car, set the goals, the motivation will follow. So if you're sitting here thinking like, yeah, I'm just not motivated towards any goals, it's actually the reverse. It's setting the goals and getting into the action towards them, starting the car and start taking the step towards the direction you want to go is actually going to spark the motivation. So First comes the action, and then comes the motivation. Isn't that fascinating? Didn't your whole life, or was it just me, you guys think that it was the other way around? It's not. The science actually shows that it's the action that gives us the motivation to keep going, to actually take a step. And so start the car, turn the key in the ignition, put it in drive, start moving, and don't take your foot off the gas. Don't stop at all of the pit stops. Okay, you can go the scenic route. If there's obstacles or there's detours, go with it. That is your destiny. Follow it. Trust in it. Have faith that you are still on the right path from point A to point B. You're just taking the scenic route. But please don't stop at every pit stop. Every distraction that's going to come and try and steal your motivation by stealing your focus, because that's where most people fail. It's the distractions of our day-to-day that, for lack of a better way to say it, like steal our time, and we spend on like these meaningless tasks that don't move us closer to the person we want to be or the things we want to do in our lives. But they're super distracting. So make sure that you're consciously choosing to stay on the path that you have set out for yourself, and that you're staying committed to it. And reminding yourself that we can't think our way to motivation. So we want it to be like this feeling that we have. We feel motivated. It is a feeling, but you can't think your way to it. You have to work your way to it. You have to drive your way to it. And it comes from the doing. So the motivation is the result of the action. It's not the cause of it. So even if you just have to take like small steps, take small actions, that's going to start to spark that motivation, and it will get you going down the right path. And the thing about like sustaining motivation is that it's going to wane. It's going to come, it's going to go, right? We've all been there, we've all felt it. But because you're committed, you show up anyway. Because you're committed, you show up even when you don't feel motivated to. You keep on your destiny, your path, no matter what. And you keep giving attention to your ambitions, to the things that matter most to you, and stop getting distracted by all of the outside, pit stops and souvenir shops, and let those internal motivators, the things inside your heart, the things inside your head, like the real root of why you want to do what you do, inspire you. Don't rely on all of the outside sources to do it for you, because you'll end up in a place that you don't belong, and you'll end up unsure of like where you're really going and why you're going there. So my hope is that this year, and really every year, moving forward, we really commit ourselves to realizing that we are the masters of our motivation, that we get to choose to move forward towards freedom, where you can experience more happiness and more joy and more passion and more fulfillment and more success, or you can continue to move towards fear and avoid the things that are uncomfortable, because there's always going to be tension in that rope of motivation. And really you get to decide which way you're pulling more strongly and what wins, your fear or your freedom. So thank you guys. That's my take on motivation today. I hope it inspires you to at least set some goals if you haven't already. If you want more conversation around goal setting in and of itself, again, I will post the video of the call I did last night on that specifically. So thanks.